April 2024, Nairobi's Mathare district. Homes vanished overnight beneath floodwaters. Families screamed for help as children clung to rooftops, terrified by rising waters. Hour after hour, the water rose, and no rescue came. The government's promises of rapid response remained empty words. Anger grew alongside desperation, questioning why their leaders abandoned them. Turkana County, mid-2024. Endless drought ravaged the land. One by one, cattle collapsed, lifelines severed, futures shattered. Young shepherds watched helplessly, their inheritance turning to dust before their eyes. Officials promised relief, claiming they're working tirelessly. But words didn't bring rain. Blaming the weather, blaming the world, they never admitted their negligence. For the boy watching his cattle die, promises meant nothing. Where was accountability when his life crumbled under the relentless sun? In Nairobi, life for the elite seemed untouched. Government officials, cloaked in luxury, arrived in gleaming cars, stepped into air-conditioned buildings, and spoke empty words at endless meetings. Climate conferences became glamorous photo ops. Yet behind these lavish facades, millions suffered silently, invisible to the powerful. Money meant to save lives vanished into corrupt hands. Leaders blamed rich nations abroad but refused to admit their own failings. Who held these powerful figures accountable? Who would break their silence? In an ambitious bid to combat desertification, the government launched the Great Green Wall project, promising to transform arid lands into lush forests. Billions were allocated, and hope soared. Yet as we stand here today, all that remains are withered saplings and broken promises. The soil, once tilled with optimism, now cracks under the weight of neglect. Corruption siphoned funds meant for irrigation and maintenance, leaving the project to wither. The vultures circling above aren't just scavengers of the land, but symbols of the greed that devoured a nation's dream. How did a vision so grand dwindle into this desolate landscape? The narrative is familiar. Western nations, with their sprawling industries, have historically been the largest polluters, their factories belching smoke that chokes our planet. Kenya contributes less than 1% to global emissions, yet bears the brunt of climate change's wrath. Our leaders point fingers, decrying the injustices of a world where the innocent suffer for the sins of the mighty. But while international accountability is crucial, does it absolve our own government's inaction? Can external blame mask internal failures? The child staring at the distant factory doesn't care who's at fault. They just want a future. April 2024, Mai Mahiu. A night of relentless rain culminated in disaster. A railway embankment gave way, unleashing a torrent that swallowed homes, vehicles, and lives. 61 souls perished, 84 went missing, and over 100 were hospitalized. The government swiftly labeled it an unforeseeable tragedy, a natural calamity. But whispers among the rubble spoke of neglected infrastructure, of warnings unheeded. Residents had long voiced concerns about the embankment's integrity, despite countless promises to rebuild. 1 year later, Mai Mahiu remains broken. The roads are shattered, schools abandoned, dreams buried deep beneath the mud. Accountability fades into silence. Government assurances dissolve into empty air. For the survivors, each broken promise feels like another disaster. Who will restore their lost trust? International climate conferences promised hope. Millions in climate aid pledged, celebrated by smiling leaders and captured in handshakes. Yet back home, reality was starkly different. Promised funds rarely reached the farmers, shepherds, or flood survivors who needed them most. Instead, the money vanished into corruption, disappearing into shadowy accounts. People asked, who stole our future? Leaders pointed fingers abroad, yet refused introspection. Who will ensure these promises become more than empty gestures? In Wajir County, hunger became the silent epidemic. Years of relentless drought destroyed livelihoods, turning proud communities into scenes of desolation. This child doesn't understand international politics or climate blame games. They only know hunger. Leaders continue pointing outward, blaming global injustice, but do little to ease suffering today. Responsibility means nothing without action. This child needs immediate relief, not tomorrow's promises. Frustration exploded onto Nairobi's streets. Citizens had endured enough empty promises, corruption scandals, and governmental inaction. They demanded accountability, real climate action, and justice. Yet authorities responded with force, silencing voices instead of addressing their demands. The government blamed outside forces, refused to recognize its failures. But the people were clear. The blame was here, at home. Who among the powerful will finally listen? As leaders point fingers, Kenya suffers. Floods and drought ravage the land. But accountability is elusive. The real crisis isn't just climate, it's leadership. Change starts when blame ends. Who will stop the chaos?